Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. It looks like war is just on the cusp of happening in a very much broader scale in Europe. NATO seems to be building its forces and getting itself ready, and so is, of course, as Russia, and then all this recent stuff with maybe it's a Russian coup, maybe it's a Russian psyop, maybe it's exposed the United States of trying to infiltrate Russia. I don't know, but we'll talk a little bit about that here in just a second. Just wanted to let you know, remind you, I know some of you get tired of it, but I gotta let you know that at some point YouTube is going to cancel me. They're going to get me off of here permanently. I've been suspended 3 times in 12 months on this platform. And I know at some point it's going to happen, probably on a permanent basis. And even if it's just temporary, so that you don't miss my content, because even when I'm suspended, I'm still producing content. You need to subscribe over to Rumble, to my channel at Rumble. You can also sign up to Locals, which is part of Rumble. It's a membership-based service, and there I produce extra content. I produce exclusive stuff. I'm doing audio podcasts every week. My wife is writing articles. My wife and I do extra videos together. We talk about health, natural healing stuff, all kinds of things. So if you want to get in on some of that, you can also go to Locals. Both of those platforms, there's a link in the description below that you can go and sign up for. That way you don't miss me when, you know, I know it's just got to get your Prepared Homestead fix. It's silly, I know. I did see something that's not related to the topic today that I wanted to go ahead and mention. And Texas, the United States, has discovered the first cases of malaria in the United States in about 20 years, and these were in Texas. And while I don't have any other information other than that, it makes you wonder, all these illegals coming across the border, and there's been warnings from myself and many, many others that they're going to be bringing diseases across the border. Michael Yon's been reporting on the amount of tuberculosis and other diseases that are at the point that they're almost unheard of in the United States anymore, that are coming across the border from these third world countries that a lot of these illegals are coming from. And now we have cases of malaria. So I just wanted to throw that out there to you. So when you're dealing with those mosquitoes this summer, well, they could be carrying malaria now, apparently. Over to Europe, man, there's so much going on. Before I get into any details, I just want to say this. Like a lot of us YouTube guys like myself, that, you know, as our channel grows, we make contact with people. Maybe we just have personal friends, and I'm the same way. I have a few people that, because of their previous line of work, some of them in the military, some of them in intelligence community, some of them live overseas in some of these countries. And so they're where we get kind of our intelligence from. We get, information from. And so I've been talking to a few of them over the last few days because of all this stuff that's gone on with Putin and Prigozhin and all this kind of stuff. And I'll be honest with you, they're all a little still unsure of what's going on. And, no one really has a total grasp. I mean, you can go to probably Twitter feeds and you can find all these geniuses that's figured it out. They know exactly what's going on. But the reality is whatever is happening, they're doing a good job of keeping it confusing. It's very difficult. But like I've said before, when there's this much chatter, when there's this much flack being thrown up, it typically indicates that something serious is happening. And when we kind of push that aside, we can see that things are serious. Since this has all happened with Russia and Prigozhin and the Wagner group, Wagner is now turning over all of their equipment to Russia. Basically what it sounds like is that Wagner is just being kind of absorbed into the Russian military for the most part. They've opened the doors to anyone in the Wagner group, any of their troops, to join the Russian military. And if nothing else, it's this distraction has allowed Wagner to kind of move positions, and there's a base that's being developed, and apparently they're doing it real fast, that Wagner's going to be positioned into Belarus, and so they'll be moving into Belarus real soon, if not already. Russia has also announced that they're officially dropping all charges from Prigozhin. So I'm leaning towards the fact that maybe Prigozhin, that there's a pretty much a confirmation here because of that Prigozhin is not necessarily the bad guy, that he was just working with Putin somehow, because Putin is very much known for not tolerating any type of disloyalty. That's something that he has spoken of before, that's the one thing he cannot forgive, is someone that can't be trusted, someone that's disloyal. And so here we have this happening, making it look like that he was being disloyal, and yet all charges are being dropped. So I don't know. What's real and what's not is getting hard to determine. But NATO is certainly making moves. Germany is advancing and moving a lot more troops, over 4,000 troops in the Latvia, moving it to the front lines, right there close to Kaliningrad. Germany is increasing their, their stuff. That's the troops that are going there. It's Germany, and they're kind of building their forces and getting themselves ready. NATO as a whole has announced that they're increasing their rapid response force. Did have 13,000 on the border on the front lines. They're increasing that to 40,000. Looks like they're activating about 300,000. That's the size of their army that they're building right now, is about a 300,000 man army. The United States is just constantly sending money. It's a weekly thing now, a weekly check that we're sending over. Another $500 million was announced yesterday in military aid that's being sent to Ukraine. All while Ukraine seems to be really, really struggling with this counteroffensive that they have conducted. There's been, last week there was video footage. Yesterday there was some more video released of that frontline battles, and there's just the lines are just scattered, littered with destroyed Bradley vehicles that we sent over there, tanks and other vehicles that are being destroyed. And if you notice in these videos, they'll just be clumped together. There'll be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vehicles that are completely destroyed as drones are flying over and things like that. So it appears that the Ukrainians aren't doing so well when it comes to this counteroffensive. And you might say, well, maybe Russia can pull this win off. I don't think that NATO, the West, United States, and UK is going to allow that to happen. I think that, and they have indicated all along, there's been little indication that if it got to the point that Ukraine absolutely could not do this, that they were completely drained of manpower and weapons, and it became very obvious that they could not continue defending themselves, that NATO would officially move in and somehow do this, whether it's through an official movement or through moving in their own type of mercenary type groups, volunteers, some type of foreign legion. Poland's been pushing that. There's already believed to be a lot of Polish troops in Ukraine fighting that have joined Ukrainian forces. So it appears that we're getting very close to that. And as we get close to those times, which could be literally days away at this point, because things move pretty fast, we could be seeing the United States being officially involved in a war against Russia. And again, Lindsey Graham here in the United States has presented a resolution to declare, for the United States to declare an Article 5 through NATO against Russia because of the use of depleted uranium type rounds and different types of chemical weapons, radiological weapons, or just radiological spills in Ukraine, claiming that justifies an Article 5, which that of course would get NATO involved. We're watching as all of the Russia coup debacle, which I don't believe at all it was ever a coup. In fact, the official news media on just about every side is indicating that it was never, even the intent was never to be a coup to try to take out Putin. But anyways, while all that was going on, we're seeing NATO in the West rapidly build its forces and build its aggression towards Russia. That they're getting ready to go to war against Russia, and we have to kind of wrap our heads around this. Here's what I suspect is going on with the American people, and probably a lot of you. We've heard this now for close to a year and a half that this has been going on. From the very beginning, in fact, before Russia even officially invaded Ukraine, we were hearing all of this talk from various people, officially and unofficially, that it was a very good chance that the United States, that NATO was going to be directly involved in this confrontation, that it was going to happen. And there's been numerous times all along that, something would happen, like, oh, it's getting ready to escalate. I've even been, said that. I've said those things. That, oh, it's getting ready to escalate. Oh, NATO could be involved this time. Oh, I bet NATO could be sending troops. And I think what's happened is all of us, whether we're the normies that are still asleep, or folks like you and I, we've gotten to the point that, we're used to hearing that. That's old news. We're used to hearing that United States and NATO is just on the cusp of being at war with Russia in an official capacity. It's we've gotten used to that, and we discount it when we hear that. Well, as I've said before, I know I'm a broken record. Looking at the situation right now, I really don't see an out at this point how NATO and especially the United States could not get involved in a direct confrontation with Russia. I just don't see it, other than NATO, the West, completely abandoning Ukraine, and I just don't see that happening either. They're too vested in it. It would, because remember, this is not just about protecting Ukraine or not you and I, but the politicians' interest in Ukraine and their weapons labs and their money laundering and trafficking and all that kind of stuff. It's actually bigger than even that. It is the first battle of the changing of powers of the New World Order, the changing of the world order. And if the United States and NATO walk away from this, if they say, okay, we can't support Ukraine anymore, it will look by the entire planet as a defeat of the West. The West will be defeated in that battle. They will have lost that battle. It may not be the final war for a world order, but that's a major battle right there. And I think at this point, NATO and the United States, the West, just can't do that. They can't afford to walk away. And I'm not supporting those actions. I'm not supporting the United States and the West involved in Ukraine or fighting against Russia. I'm just saying from a political, strategic perspective, I just can't see there being an out that the West could get out of this without actually finally confronting Russia. Russia obviously is not being drained in the way that the Western media has tried to spin it over the last year. They're just not. They have much greater supply chains and supply lines than Ukraine, especially if you say only Ukraine. If it was only Ukraine fighting, we know for a fact that it would have been done and over with a long time ago. And this is going to continue to escalate, and it's escalating right now at a rapid pace. What's happening, what we're seeing, and I'm only scratching the surface. There's numerous things that's happened over the past week that definitely indicate things are escalating. Troop movements, wins and defeats in battle, things that's happening, all across Europe with Poland and Romania, and Zelensky. It keeps going on and on. I've just kind of hit some highlights. The fact is that things are moving very rapidly towards an overt, out in the open war against the West and against Russia. Once that happens, things are going to start rapidly changing. Things are going to be different. Russia would more likely use their forces against us, not necessarily in a direct confrontation here in the United States, but things like hacking and infrastructure and possible activation of sleeper cells here in the United States that we're pretty sure was talking about this just yesterday. Pretty sure there's a lot of sleeper cells. There's certainly a lot of Russian nationals and Chinese nationals in this country. And then, of course, that's not even bringing in the possibility of China making their move against Taiwan, Iran making a move against Israel. We're seeing this be that spearhead that's kind of pushing through and getting things going. And we are right on the cusp, right at the edge, I think, of the West getting directly involved. And so we need to be getting ourselves ready for that. You could see shortages, probably going to see gasoline prices skyrocket. Once we get directly involved in a war, our troops, our military supplies are so depleted, you're going to start seeing things being shifted from civilian markets to military government markets. And so that's going to put a drain on the supply chain here in the United States, much like it did during World War II, where there was rationing and you know, you couldn't even buy tires for your car. You know, you was rationed down to certain food items. We could very, very easily see that happen in the United States today. I know many of you are saying, oh, we're too plentiful for that to happen. We've already been dealing with major supply chain issues, not necessarily shortages to the point that you just can't get anything, but a very slow supply chain. We have a very slow supply chain right now where it gets there, it's just taking a lot longer. You got to wait for it. You can't just run down to the store and get that part for your car, your tractor, or just, you know, get what you want at the store all the time for groceries. Sometimes you have to wait. Sometimes you're limited on what you can get. And you take that kind of supply chain and then dump a major global war, world war into it, it's going to drain it very quickly. So we need to be ready for that also. Also be ready for the government to start just cracking down on us. That's what they do. Whenever there's a war, they turn on their own citizens and call it security and safety and start increasing the amount of spying and increasing the amount of restrictions and all this kind of stuff. And so we have to be prepared for that and quit just kind of looking at it as, well, maybe we're going to get involved, you know, but that's over in Europe. That's not going to affect us. It will affect us. It will affect us somehow, some way, and we need to prepare ourselves for that. Because I think once that happens, like I said, we would be watching the very dawning of really what World War III that many of us have warned and worried about for years. That would be, even though technically it's already started, that would be the real opening door of the big event. So folks, you need to be getting your houses in order and preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.